Joining us now, Yashwant Deshmukh of C Voter, who's done the poll. Rahul Verma, fellow at the Center for Policy Research and Cephalogist. Raj Chengappa, the editorial director of India Today, is with us. And also joining us, Shehzad Poonawalla of the BJP, Supriya Srinath of the Congress, and Dr. Shashi Panja of the Trinamool Congress. Let's get you, Yashwant Deshmukh. It's your number, your polls. Explain this to us. In the first part today, we saw state governments facing a measure of anti-incumbency, but it appears that if a general election was held, the NDA does better. Is that the pattern at the moment, that state elections, governments vulnerable, including BJP governments, but when it's a national election, the NDA has the edge?
Well, Ratif, the survey very clearly indicates the vulnerabilities of the BJP and NDA in the very expected spots. The survey very clearly says that TMC is likely to sweep if the elections are held today for the Lok Sabha in the West Bengal, state of West Bengal. The opposition alliance is likely to sweep Maharashtra, bringing the BJP numbers, NDA numbers down by a big number. The opposition is likely to make a comeback. Opposition, when I say opposition, means Congress, likely to make a very strong comeback even in the state of Karnataka, where BJP swept last time, one-way traffic. Having said that, Congress is also making a very good revival in Haryana. In that also the survey points out. Having said that, all this, even after all this, largely what I can tell you that the NDA numbers, the drop in NDA numbers from 2019 have to be largely attributed to the coalition partners going away from the NDA. Shiv Sena going away from the NDA and joining the UPA rank and file. Akali Dal going away from the NDA and still not joining the opposition rank and file, but still not being part of the NDA anymore. So, barring these major exodus because these two major alliance partners, I don't see much of a damage as far as the national NDA vote share or the BJP vote share is concerned. In fact, Rajdeep, in Uttar Pradesh, the best possible combination that could have happened in 2019 was SP and the BSP. And if I may say so, if the SP-BSP combination could have continued in assembly election, it would have been a very difficult election for the BJP. But now that they are going in their own different ways, UP has become actually, for the Lok Sabha election, much easier for the BJP.
Right.
In assembly, they are still finding it, some competition for Akhilesh because he has taken one pole position as far as the opposition leadership is concerned. But Akhilesh numbers in different trackers and different surveys, even then his individual numbers are ranging in the 30 to 35% category when you compare it to the positive potential combined vote share with Mayawati of 45%. That is not happening.
Right.
So all in all, NDA is sitting pretty at this point of time.
Rahul Kanwal will give us the breakdown in a moment, but Raj Chengappa, your first reaction. What it appears from what Yashwant Deshmukh says, if Lok Sabha polls held today, the BJP suffers or the NDA suffers damage in Maharashtra. They've lost an ally in Shiv Sena, the second largest state, Maharashtra, with 48 seats. Suffers in Karnataka, which they had swept last time. Takes a bit of a hit in Haryana, which they had swept last time. But despite that, seems to be holding its own clearly, because in the Hindi heartland, by and large, the BJP still remains the dominant force. So it almost seems that 2.5 years, and we are at the midway point, in a way, of this term of Mr. Modi, the NDA is still way ahead of its rivals, even though it's declined from 350 plus to below 300.
Rajdeep, I would look at the results in a sort of a mixed bag for both BJP and the NDA. The good news for them is that they have stopped hemorrhaging. If you saw a poll in August 2021, for the first time, the BJP numbers fell below the majority mark, went down to 269. Okay, and the NDA also dropped significantly. I think it lost about 50 seats. What the good news for them is that, and this seems largely because of the performance during the second wave. The good news is that they've weathered that storm and they seem to have held their own and not continued to hemorrhage downwards. So that's the one side of the
Because
the
in
story.
August, the poll was held in the backdrop of the second wave, and clearly the NDA and the BJP was taking a hit.
A very bad hit, right? They had dropped significantly, and for the first time, they were not getting a majority. In this also, they are yet to hit the majority. They are just halfway through. They're there, but they seem to have that stability and the fact that they've recovered and not gone down further. So that's the first part. And given the fact that you had three major crises confront the government, whether it is COVID, the economic fallout of COVID, and the Chinese intrusion. These were difficult things for any government to handle, and many tall leaders would have been felled by these things. But the fact that they held is good news for them. I think the bad news, if there is a bad news or maybe a news for concern, is that there is still a lot of caveats being put into this. They are not shooting up. There has been an economic recovery, which the people acknowledge and say, yes, in the last 2 quarters you've done well, so we're not dropping you. And there seems to be some favor in terms of handling of COVID. Clearly, it's a positive because compared to the second wave. But there are large concerns that they should have, if this number stops at this level, it's a great worry for them. I think just one more point I'll make, Rajdeep, is that I think the opposition should look back and say, how come we have not dropped them far below? And that is a failing of the opposition.